7 p.m. Today, on August 14th, 2025, we are opening the planning board hearing. If anyone who's present could sign in at the table at the entrance, that would be very helpful. This meeting is being recorded for live broadcast and televised replay by Bourne TV. If anyone is audio or visual recording, please acknowledge at this time. Seeing none.
Silence your phones.
This meeting is also being broadcast through Zoom. The meeting ID is 858-5297-2779. Passcode is 202999. And a dial-up number is 1-929-205-6099. And also, if you don't mind silencing your phones to help with the organization of the meeting. And first up on our agenda is the meeting minutes from July 24th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Chris, Jim? Any discussion? Questions? Anybody on Zoom tonight?
No.
Us? Okay. Is that a roll call? Do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Yes.
Chris? Jim?
Yes.
Doc?
Yes.
Dan? Corinne?
Yes.
Chair, yes. Unanimous? First item on our agenda for deliberation is an application for modification of a site plan review special permit number 11-2022A, 140 Main Street. The application is to construct a two-story mixed-use commercial residential building consisting of retail office space on the first floor and 4 residential units on the second floor. And Don Bracken, how are you?
Good evening, Don Bracken for the applicant. Keith Galizio is the owner, and James McLaughlin is here. He's going to be the developer. I'd like to pass around a handout just to make things simpler. The first 2 sheets you already have in your package. The third sheet is for a modified plan that we're going to be proposing and go through with you, which I have up on the easel so people not here on Zoom can see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Put your own.
I have 2.
Thank you.
As mentioned, this is not a new application. It's a modification to an existing site plan special permit that was issued back in 2022. This proposed plan is sort of similar if you look at it quickly, but we've made some changes. The footprint's a little bit smaller. We still have a mixed-use type of development with commercial, which would be retail or office on the first floor. The original plan had basically that same setup with garage space on the first floor like we have here, but it had 6 market residential units. On the second floor, the plan has been revised for 4 units on the second floor in this round. The architectural plans have really changed significantly on the elevation views and the style and so forth. It's a little more simplified. I think the construction is a little cleaner with the fact that we're in the flood zone and all the construction requirements that go along with that. So the office retail is 1,663 square feet on the first floor. There are 4 garage spaces on the first floor that we're counting toward the overall parking. Most likely, those spaces will go with the residential units or a space or two could go with the commercial. That hasn't been determined, but probably likely available for both uses. Also on the first floor are some storage areas that are incorporated that could be used for the residents as well. On the plan that was originally submitted, you'll see we had 15 parking spaces. That's the second sheet that I handed out to you. Similar to the first plan that was approved with parking sort of coming in from all directions. If you remember what the previous site looked like, that's how it was set up. The plan you approved in 2022, much more organized than what was there previously. But the big difference is on the plan we submitted, we try to take advantage of the existing curb cut, as you'll see, and we propose some parking in the front of the building under the assumption that we may be able to get that approved through special permit because of the pre-existing use that was in roughly the same location and the pre-existing use of parking in the front. So we went to the design review board. Obviously, they asked us to consider, getting the parking out of the front, not utilizing that space, which is what we've done. Basically pushing the building closer to the street. I think it's about 10 feet off the street line at the moment. Also, that gets all the parking out of that first tier at the front setback. So we think that, that there are certainly improvements and makes this more compliant without asking for any further relief. As you'll see in staff's memo, they indicate a few areas that we would need relief on. By making this change, I think we don't need any relief on the project at that point. The lighting on the site, pretty much because the site is so small, and I'm sure you all know the area, it's already very well lit from the uses around it and the street lighting. The lighting is going to be from the building only. You can see where the dumpster is and it's going to be screened. Everything will fully comply with the FEMA and building code requirements for building in a flood zone. We will be required to file a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission because of that. So for the utilities, the drainage, again, similar to what was done last time, this time a little different, but because it's a redevelopment, we have actually less impervious area on the proposed plans than we had before, and in this situation, it's maximum feasible compliance that we can do on the lot. So what we've done is we've collected the roof runoff and put it into a dry well system to allow infiltration for that. And the rest of the parking areas will pitch toward a stone surface trench that allows some infiltration before it eventually may overflow during larger storm events into the street, which is where everything was going already. So it's a substantial reduction in the runoff from the property than what was pre-existing. So I won't go through the zoning compliance and all that. I know staff has already done that. I think in conclusion, we think that the project as designed fits in well in this specific location with the uses that are around it. And it supports the revitalization goals of the downtown district. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
On the
Chris?
photo that you submitted,
Mm-hmm.
are those colors etched in stone, so to speak?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think,
I've mentioned it before, the light colored stone at the bottom, it doesn't work. You get splashed up dirt, and all you have to do is look at our own school department. I mentioned it to them when they were building the middle school at the time, and said, you can't put that down there because you're not going to power wash it, you're not going to clean it, and sure enough, they didn't, and so those light colored stones are now black. So better off with a darker colored stone.
and that photo may be a little deceiving too, because that was the original when the building was pushed back, and now it's going to be close to the street and very close
Just
to
saying,
the
if you
sidewalk.
do the stone, I know Jimmy's done stone before at the bottom of his units, he knows what I'm talking about, but they just don't work, and it looks like hell later on. That's the only thing I have to say.
Thank you.
Doc?
I think it's a good project. I would like to see, maybe we make this a condition, that screening plan be developed to particularly screen the parking on the east side, maybe submit it to the planning department for review. And that's one of our regulations. It's a good project.
Are you talking about by the dumpster area? or-
I'm talking about, say, the view of the east side parking from Main Street.
So.
Okay, along the road.
1 through
Between the
4?
road and the parking.
Parking spots 1 through 4?
Right you are. And just in general,
The corner and hold.
be sensitive to the town's intent of screening parking from Main Street view. So just submit that to the planning department for comment.
And we have to submit a revised set to show the damage. So, we didn't have time to revise the whole set, so I'm just showing you where we have it so far.
Where's the handicap ramp from the parking space? Is that level? I don't have a grading plan, but,
Yeah, if you have that revised, if you're looking at that revised plan, where that handicap ramp is, that curb is flush, and that can all be graded so that it's less than 2% to get to the
Okay.
ramp on the side of the.
Yeah,
What
motion is the
Yeah,
end.
it's right on there. Yep.
so that curb is flush with the ground?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? We have any, open this up for questions from the audience? Comments?
Do have a question when you get back to us.
Sure. Seeing none? Okay.
I do.
Ren, would you like to?
The previous curb cut that was in the middle, are there any proposed changes to that? Will it be a parking space? What's in that void space there?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So that will become one parking space.
Okay.
So we'll show it as a parking space on the final plans.
Anyone else from the board?
I was just gonna say, this is the type of project that, when we did the downtown zoning, and Ren and I were on the board at that time, this is the type of project that we were looking for. Because you have to have foot traffic to make a Main Street work. And this is adding more residents, especially in the downtown core area, and this is a great project.
It's a nice-looking building.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
We'll make a motion that after I read this,
Jim?
accept it. Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the project and the applicant, 140 Main, Buzzards Bay LLC, seeks modification of site plan review / special permit number 11-2022 for the property at 140 Main Street, map 23.2, parcel 145. The 2022 approved site plan consisted of demolishing the existing structure on site and constructing a three-story mixed use with retail space on the first floor, and 6 market rate rental units on the upper 2 floors. Since it's been changed, proposal modification will result in a 2-story structure containing commercial, retail / office and parking on the lower level, and 4 apartments on the 2nd floor. The project is located in the downtown district or sub-district, DTC, and is allowed to use under section 2820. Mr. Chairman, based on the planning board reviews of the exhibits, testimony of the applicant, expert witnesses, and the record of the proceeding, the planning board has found that the project is consistent with the town of Bourne zoning bylaws, section 1230, site plan review, section 2800, downtown district, all applicable sections, section 2827, special permit criteria, section 2840, performance and functional standard, section 3100, lowland regulations, section 3450, lighting, and section 5, definition. Special permit number 11-2022 alpha meets the criteria for special permit for the following. A, pedestrian vehicle flow, safety has been met. The utilities and other public services are adequate. C, there are no impacted areas to natural environment. D, impact upon nearby development premises is minimized and commercial abutters may experience minor impacts such as noise during construction. E, the proposed building is virtually compatible with the surroundings. The parcel is, and F, the parcel is not located in water resource area. G, there is a positive impact on the town's need for year-round housing. Therefore, I move to approve the site plan special permit modification number 11-2022 alpha in accordance with the following findings, terms, and conditions. Findings, the parcel consists of 1,307 square feet in the downtown core district. The total building area is 6,256 square feet. The first floor is comprised of 1,680 square feet of retail space, office space, 1,190 square feet of garage space for residential units, 798 square feet of access/storage/utilities. The upper floor will be comprised of 4 market-rate residential units with a total of 2,588 square feet. There are two bedroom units, and each unit is approximately 800 square feet. There are 2 one-bedroom units, in each unit is approximately 500 square feet. So the waiver, 1, waiver per section 1238B. 2, F, for the loading area required is granted by the planning board. Waiver per section 3310 for vehicles to back onto the public way, Holt Road, and Holt Road extension is granted by the planning board. Conditions. The plan is subject to all rules, regulations, and bylaws of the town of Bourne. 2, coordinating with public safety officials and the engineering department as to the number or lettering of the units to assist with 911 emergencies. 3, proposed signage shall require design review committee approval. 4, prior to issuance of occupancy permits, an as-built plan must be submitted to the planning board showing all infrastructure above and below ground. 5, defer to Conservation Department for project compliance. 6, defer to Bourne Sewer Commission for confirmation of sufficient wastewater capacity. 7, the building will need to be protected with automatic sprinklers in accordance with state building code. 8, at least 1 commercial Knox box will be required for the property. 9, the building code requires 2-way radio coverage for emergency responders. 10, defer the appropriate water district for sufficient water capacity. 11, the building must conform front setbacks on Main Street and must not have parking accessed by the curb cut on Main Street. 12, all changes to the building plans prior to issuance of building permit must be approved by a representative from the planning board. 13, the decision shall be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds / Land Court Registry and copy returned to the planning department prior to the issue of a building permit. And then the 14th is going to be the
The landscape plan submitted to the planner's office, it needs approval by staff and a planning board member prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
right. And then the screening,
That's it.
that's okay.
That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept this. I'll make a motion
And
to accept this.
parallel, sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
You want to add the 1 parallel parking space to the front
Yeah, he's gonna show that on the plan.
on the plan.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Is there any,
I just have a question. What is, on number 9, it says the building code requires 2-way radio coverage for emergency responders. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
What is that?
Off and on. Fire department requires any building that you go into, and if you don't have coverage, they have to put a repeater into the building. They did it on the maritime, the ship. They do it in any structure we have now. So if they go inside a building and they don't have the coverage, they'll be able to talk out and reach
Oh,
their,
okay.
reach their apparatus in their station.
Mr. Chairman, may I amend one more thing?
Yes.
Under waiver for vehicles to back onto the public way, it only applies to Holt Road and not Holt Road Extension, just to clarify that.
I have another,
Corinne?
I hate when I lose my thought. I had a thought. What was the thought?
Sure.
Jeez, it's gone now. I don't know what I was thinking.
It'll come back to you tonight when you're.
Yeah, when I'm sleeping.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We do a roll call vote.
Anything
Is there
from
any
you?
further questions from the audience? Seeing none? Amanda? Chris? Jim?
Yes.
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 Dan? Corinne?
Yes.
Chair, yes. Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good job, Mr. Brackey.
What?
Took a pertinence to the.
Yeah, I'm glad before I had to eat something like that.
Oh,
He asked me.
yeah.
Next up on the agenda.
One's not working.
Oh, where am I going?
Speak loud enough?
Do I have a microphone in front of the MPs and we'll lose it?
She's over in the UK, living large. Okay.
Next up is an application for a site plan review, special permit number 12-2025, 223 Main Street. Application is to raise the existing commercial and residential buildings and construct a mixed-use, commercial multifamily residential building and a standalone multifamily building. As represented by Don Bracken.
He's been busy.
Michael Goodman and Tony Schneider is there, the applicant. And Steve Kahan is also here. I do have another handout. Nothing new, I just thought it'd be easier to go through again. We didn't have the colored version, which is on the first page, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Also with me tonight is Ed Fuller, licensed landscape architect that worked on the plan. The actual architect couldn't be here tonight, but I do have something short from him that I can read into the record. Sure, most of you are familiar with the site. This is probably the first official application that's been in front of the board. We were in front of the board with this project a year and a half, 2 years ago with the preliminary plan to get the sewer allocation approved, which we were given the nod at that time. We had the sewer allocation. We actually just renewed the sewer allocation. We have an increase in flow from what was originally approved, and we have got that approved a few months ago from them. So, you know, the original house is a 1920 circa house and cottages that are around it sometime in the 50s. There are 16 motel units with the main house, and there's a barn also on the site. Site has 193 feet of frontage on the road, which, believe it or not, is existing non-conforming because it has too much frontage. First time that's ever happened, but it's a 3-acre site. Obviously, this is another redevelopment combination of commercial and residential. The commercial facing the street as required. We had some discussions with staff and planning board members, and the applicants at this point are committed to make that commercial space a restaurant. So we'll have to modify the plans for that and redo the parking calculations and so forth to be able to accommodate that. In total, there are 43 residential units, 28 two-bedrooms, and 15 one-bedrooms. The commercial space is just under 2,200 square feet. The rear building is residential only, and as I mentioned, the front building is a mix of commercial and residential. On this site plan, you'll notice that we have 3 separate garage buildings that the applicants feel is going to be an important asset to the project for use of the condo on. By the way, this is not going to be an apartment complex. This is going to be a condominium homeowner project. We have 146 parking spaces altogether with 8 handicap spaces. There are 2 existing curb cuts on Main Street. We'll continue to have 2 curb cuts on Main Street. They'll be reconfigured slightly to accommodate the layout that we have. One curb cut will be active. That's the curb cut to the east. The other curb cut is going to be there for emergency access only. We're going to create a path with reinforced turf. So it will be vegetated, but it will be sufficient for emergency vehicles. Put together a pretty comprehensive landscaping and lighting plan. As pointed out by Sean, in the review, there is some overspill on the lighting plan that the architect should be here to talk about, but we will commit to making modifications to that plan and make sure that there's no overspill, either through revising the lighting or adding some more vegetation. The project was reviewed by the Design Review Board. I think you have their comments. Ed Fuller can probably address the issue that they asked us to take a look at, was similar to what we just looked at 140, providing additional screening or fencing or something to help block the parking area from view on Main Street. All usual utilities, sewer, water, gas, electric, the electric will be underground once it gets to the site. It's overhead in the site currently. The drainage will comply with the Stormwater Management Act, combination of catch basins, oil grit separators, and infiltration systems. Again, we have the front portion of the project only, like a triangular shape, is in the flood zone. A small portion of the building is in the flood zone. We'll have to follow the Conservation Commission for that, but it's been designed so that the first floor is obviously high enough and will meet flood zone requirements. There will be some basement areas in each building, mainly for utilities, but not, overall basement areas for the whole building. That's still yet to be designed once we get to the final details. So I'm going to read the notes from the architect. Some of it might be redundant, but I told him I'd read it. There will be 5 structures, including 2 residential buildings and 3 garage buildings. Building 1 sits parallel to Main Street. The front portion is a 2-story wing that will be home to a commercial business. Now we've established it, that's going to be a restaurant, on the first floor. The second floor will house amenity spaces for the condo association, including community building room, a fitness area, and small co-working area. The building will also have some storage rooms at the rear of the first floor. So if you look at the building elevations that I sent out, you can see how the building, the street's on the left, you can see what I was talking about, the 2-level, and then it steps up to the 5-story building once we get past the setback line. Let's see. So the front 2-story building behind the setback line, the building will be topped with a roof deck, actually both buildings, which will be accessible to all occupants via stairs and an elevator. The front building is a mixture of 2-bedroom units, 43, 1 and 2 bedroom, 43 total. Building 2, the rear building, is also a wood frame 5-story residential building with 45 units. The building will also have roof deck. The building is parallel to Main Street. Some of the stuff is obvious. So I think I'm going to stop there, except he does point out that the garages are suited ideally for solar panels if it's decided that that's to be done in the future. Again, I won't go through the rest of the zoning review. Sean has done that and provided that to the town, but the only thing I'll mention is that there is, setback relief required by special permit for the height of the building. By right is 4 stories or 52 feet. We're asking, as I said, for 5 stories at 82 feet. The front setback, technically we may need it because we're at 16.5 feet back to the building, but the raised patio area is much less than that. So if you consider that part of the building, which we would, then we wouldn't need the relief, but if you feel we should grant the relief just in case we need it, that would be great. And then again, we need relief on the lot width, as I mentioned earlier. So I think at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Fuller, give his presentation on the landscaping.
Thank you, Don. For the board's record, my name is Edward Fuller, and I'm a registered landscape architect in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, doing business out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I prepared the plan that was part of the submission package for this development. I'd like to state that I believe the plan that I submitted meets all of the zoning guidelines for the district and the requirements for street tree planting and buffering. It was a challenge because there are some interesting guidelines in terms of streetscape, in terms of plants that will be low water consumption plants, but in terms of plants that may have to endure some heavy rain and some inundation, and still provide some visual interest and the kind of streetscape that the design guidelines are looking for. But I believe this plan does that. This plan provides a lot of shade trees, 47 shade trees throughout the site, provides plant material that is commonly found in southeastern Massachusetts. You'll see hydrangea, you'll see some low-growing spirea, you'll see ornamental grasses in there which will provide visual quality through the summer, through the spring, summer, and fall, and then will die down because they're herbaceous and they'll be gone for the winter. But they all, I believe, are plant material that meet the guidelines on the intent of the DTD and the subcore zoning district. Of a special challenge was the street trees, because of the condition or the guideline that the streetscape or the building be close to the street. We had a very constricted growing area, but yet the zoning calls for a large canopy tree. So I've selected something called a bow maple, which is what they call a columnar maple. So it's going to grow. It's going to be a red maple, which is very commonly found in the area. Actually, it's an indigenous plant, but this would be a hybridized selection from a nursery. And it's trained to grow very, very narrow. So it'll meet the requirement that the street tree plantings not grow into the canopy or the facade of the building. And I believe the bow maple has been grown, designed by the ornamental horticulture industry to do just that. To be a street tree, we have a very narrow streetscape frontage, and so we've selected that. If anybody in the board wants any more information or has a different selection, I'll be happy to, and I'm sure the applicant will be happy to listen to it. But I believe that'll be a tree that meets all of the guidelines for the zoning. The rest of the planting, I think, you'll see I used a heavy screen along the abutting residence of some pin oak. I chose pin oak because they hold their leaves even when they die. A good percentage of the pin oak leaves will stay on the tree all winter, so it provides some additional screening during the winter. Oftentimes, people get upset that we develop a screen, and then when the winter comes and the deciduous trees lose all their leaves, you can see right through it. The pin oak provides some additional screening because it holds those leaves. On the bow maple, we had the same situation in the back building where we had a very constricted crown space for the trees, so I selected the bow maple for that also. I've used 4 or 5 different varieties of trees, so we don't have a single monoculture, which is horticulturally not a great thing to do. But I have trees that are all doing well here. I walked the whole district before I did the plan, and identified trees that are doing well and trees that aren't doing well, with the amount of water that they would either get naturally. I don't know how many of them have watering systems. Some of them do, you can tell. Some don't. Those trees aren't doing that well. So I selected trees like the Village Green Zelkova, which kind of mimics an American elm, but it's doing very well. It's right across the street at the post office. So we selected those, and we selected a sweet gum. I was given the list of trees that the board would prefer to see, because they're known to be trees that will do well in the kind of conditions where they may not get a lot of water. They may have some salt-driven wind and rain, and these trees, I think, will all do that. You'll also notice we have a designation called CST, which is a coastal salt-tolerant shade mix. So outside of the paved areas where grading had to take place, so the disturbed ground, we're going to seed it with a salt-tolerant coastal shade seed mix, which will have a lot of warm summer grasses and things that'll help stabilize that disturbed ground, and is known to be salt tolerant. So that's why we put that in there. Inside, there will be some lawn areas, which will have to get watered. But a watering system will be what they call a high-intensity, high-efficiency irrigation system. It'll be, a lot of drip irrigation will be used, and we'll do our best to make sure that we're not throwing water all over the parking lots and the sidewalks, which is always an irritation to people walking by and to people looking at water consumption. So in summary, I believe that the plan meets all of the guidelines, the intentions of the zoning district, and as Dawn said, it's a pretty comprehensive, and I think it's gone beyond minimum requirements of the zoning, and it's going to provide, it's going to support the kind of architectural development and that the project is presenting, and I think it's going to be a good streetscape. I'll answer any questions now or after, whatever is the choice.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions or comments from the board? Doc?
Yeah, I just want to underline a couple of things that came up at the Design Review Committee meeting. We emphasized trying to extend the feeling of a street wall by adding some kind of design contemporary fence at the back of these planted, let's call them islands, call them lobes, to block the view of the parking from Main Street, and perhaps even turn it up along the property line to the pin oak.
Okay.
Just so that we de-emphasize the parking lot. And I think that was agreed to. I'd like to make that a condition. And the second is the lighting. Planning Department made some comments about light overspill, I think, on the west side. And perhaps they had hard copies to review, but the digital copy was not helpful. It was too much information on a single sheet. You blow it up and it completely pixelates. But it looked to me like there were 9 types of lights in the schedule, and they don't match up with the graphic on the plan. You know, I'm willing to be schooled on this, but with a heavily pixelated drawing, it looked like the graphic on the plan didn't match the graphic of the 9 types of lights on the on the lighting schedule. So just to carry that forward a little bit, the catalog cuts ran to 52 pages. You got to help us out. I mean, this was one page that was dealing with a light on the building, and it wasn't specified which one. That's a little too much work for us. 52 pages, you've got 9 lights. We got to boil it down and actually be clear about what you're proposing. Lighting's an issue. Full cutoffs would be good. No light spill out. And dark skies to the extent that we can start emphasizing that, but full cutoff lights. And I'd like to see that submitted to the Planning Department for review, and that's all I have.
I would definitely agree with that because, you know, we were given the package, and I'll apologize for the team, but
Right.
certainly on the next submission, we're obviously going to revise things and come back.
It was a graphic mistake on the
Yeah.
lighting designer's part.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Great, thank you.
I also forgot to mention, we're going to take another look at the dumpster locations and make sure they're in the best spots and the easiest access, and try to minimize the amount of beeping of the dumpster truck when it comes into the site.
Okay, comment on that, Don.
Chris?
On the dumpsters, you're showing 2 dumpsters for 88 units.
So, well, what we're anticipating is that there'll be a collection program inside the units. You know what I mean? So people can leave their trash certain night outside.
Recyclables and stuff.
Yeah, and then a service will come in, pick them up, most likely utilize the dumpsters on site or take them off site.
Okay,
We know that the trash is gonna be something we have to deal with.
okay.
We could probably spell that out more for everyone at the next meeting.
I'm confident that they're gonna take care of that. The only other thing I had was, to the east of Building 2, it's a pretty steep slope going down there. You
Yep.
might, as construction goes along, you might look at maybe some sort of a guardrail up there, because I know when the cottages were up there, and I was on the police department, we went up once or twice, and
Yeah,
a car had gone over the hill, and we don't want that, so.
yeah,
Just
we'll
something to
definitely
think
take a
about.
look at that.
Yeah, just because you know it's pretty steep back there, going
Yeah.
down to where that house is and
Yep.
in the back especially.
And that's related to drainage too. We are going to be required to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan and all that, so all those details will be specified as far as that goes.
I'm glad to see the garages going in. That's a
Yeah.
big calling these days for these, especially for condominium units.
Yeah,
Brings in more money too.
absolutely.
Dan?
The dumpster location, as we discussed,
Yeah.
it's just, the circulation doesn't work for where they are, so they're looking at that. So
Right.
that was the thing that was driving it the most. Also to point out, with our downtown, they also, I think it's 9 affordable units gonna get, it's 8. Is it
Yeah,
8?
It's 10%, yeah,
Yeah,
so I think it's, yeah, so it would be 9. You're
Yeah,
right,
so
8.
nine affordable units
Yeah.
to the town, so that's
Yeah.
helpful as well. And looking at as Don was mentioning, that the front patio with the extension, the patio extension from the building, to me, is a continuation of the building. It's just not built up with the structure on top, whether it's concrete or wood. So I would consider that an extension of the building, so I don't think he'd need relief. I think he falls within, because otherwise, what is it, a foot and a half of relief?
Foot
You're
and a
looking
half,
for
yeah.
a foot and a half, but I mean, you've got it with it
Yeah.
in there, but, so I don't think he'd need the relief of a foot and a half. I think with the patio, you'd have that.
You might have to put those clear plexiglass panels if there is a restaurant that goes there
Right.
and you're servicing out there.
Mm-hmm.
You're too close to Main Street, so they might want those glass panels. Just something to think about for the,
It depends on the type of restaurant that actually
Yeah,
goes there,
exactly.
that sort of thing. Yeah,
okay.
No, but I think the plan itself is pretty strong.
thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Corinne?
One, on the emergency access, what's gonna be at the street to prevent people from driving in there? Because it looks like a curb cut,
Right.
which it is a curb cut, but it's not a public curb cut. So what would be there, kind of signage or a bar? What would be there?
Emergency vehicles only?
Yeah.
Yeah, a sign for that, but, we, I don't know, I guess we didn't give that enough thought, but that's something we can think about. I don't know if we can incorporate some kind of fencing or something with a
Just the,
gate or something like that.
Removable bollards that go in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if
Those are off.
there's an emergency, just lift up the bollard and you can still drive through.
Just something to
Or
just
2
prevents
bollards and
people.
a plastic chain. You
Yeah,
could drive right through it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
an emergency.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
good point, we'll
Any-
address that.
The other thing is, I'm reading the narrative, and you point out relief that you need. And a lot of times, what's the justification for the relief? I mean, if it doesn't fit, we understand the setback relief, but we're talking density, right? Because you're not counting the affordables in the density. What's the purpose of that? Why you're not
Well, I think
counting?
that's a gray area that I thought you and I talked about 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't
Is that
remember.
the
You can tell
affordable
me.
units don't count towards the density. So I think we concluded that in there in case other people or the board has a different interpretation. But I think, and the relief is probably not the right word, but I think it falls under the special permit anyway, so.
Waiver,
Yeah.
more so than a relief,
Yeah.
because under relief, it comes to mind like variance, and what's your justification for that, other than waiver, because, the layout of the plan, like the distances between buildings, I understand that. I mean, it's better to me that's further apart than closer, but
Yeah.
that is one of the reliefs that you're asking for. The other ones, what was the density? The other, the floor height, I don't think that's a big issue.
Yeah, which I thought was a strange bylaw.
Yeah,
With?
you remember we had a consultant do this, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of hidden things in there we
Yeah.
probably didn't pick out.
Yeah, and when I went through it, I never knew it was there either, so
Mm-hmm.
I basically, you're supposed to have a 12-foot difference between the floor heights,
Right.
and we only have 10, which is more common, you know, so we're asking for that waiver,
Yeah,
so.
okay. And
We're probably the only ones that ever asked for it, too, so.
now that you pointed it
Yeah.
out, I'm gonna pick on you now.
Yeah.
And the other one is just the number and types of buildings, units that you're asking for.
Yeah, because I think that, I wish I had that in front of me, but the bylaw refers to having a certain, you can't have more than 50% of one kind.
Right.
And, you know, so our original plans, we had some 3-bedroom units in order to comply with that. But, you know, based on, now that it's gonna be a condominium and, you know, what the market is currently calling for, we didn't put the 3-bedroom units in. So we're asking only for 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom units. I'm not so sure how many 3-bedroom units, you know, would be viable in this type of situation. I don't think it's really, you know, I think we're better off having more units and not having 3-bedroom units in this
Because
situation.
it's not really family housing per se. It's
No,
more-
yeah, the amenities really aren't there for
Right.
kids and families, so
School system.
if we had the space, that would probably be good, then maybe we would be, you know, it would make sense to have some 3-bedroom units, so.
Playground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
The
true.
other thing is that, I'm really, I might,
You remember
I need to
tonight.
get some memory medicine or something. But when I sat
Write it
down, write it down, I thought I did write it down, but I think it's a good plan. I think it's gonna be a great reuse of the property. Oh, it was about the rentals and condos. That was my question from before too, is that I understand condos, you know, people, the ownership. Will there be anything in their condo documents that they can't rent their unit?
That's a good question. I don't know if the applicants have given that any thought. Or maybe, can we get back to you on the next meeting?
Yeah,
on
I'm
that?
just
'Cause we
curious,
actually have
because I
been
know
talking
that
about
a mixture, you know, I know they don't want to have a management company to come in to manage the rentals, but if I
Right.
owned a unit, could I rent that unit to someone?
Good question.
Yeah.
We hadn't thought of that,
And
so.
then we had problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Thank
curious.
you, yeah.
We're getting a lot of
Good point.
condos, which is great, but, you know,
I
rentals
think
are
we might be
good too.
getting too many apartments in this area, so condos would be good.
No, the apartments are gonna all get filled up during bridge construction over the next 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put the 50 in there.
Any
No.
further questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Irene Carboni. I think most of you do, former owner of the Bay Motor Inn. And I'm just hoping the town, it's obvious, and the board is embracing this property. The motel ran its course, and I was saying to the gentleman back there, it's almost ironic that it was 60 years ago this week that my parents bought the property. And it's just give or take a week. And I think the project they, presenting is wonderful, and they've been a pleasure to work with during the sale, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to make a comment or question from the audience? I like this project too. It's very nice, and I like all the things that are included. So,
We need to continue?
yeah,
You get your work done,
I-
what are you thinking, September, October?
I think October, we should definitely
October
have it
9th?
worked out. That
First
October 9th
meeting in
is good.
October?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we continue this to October 9th.
Second.
motion by Dan, second by Chris. Any other questions or comments? Will we need a time waiver for this?
Yes.
Would that be,
We'll get one to you, yeah.
okay?
But before we vote, we'll wait for it to get signed.
It's a nice looking project.
Very nice. I like the roof decks, too.
Yeah.
I think both of them are gonna add.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know how deep that property goes. It goes all the way back.
I didn't
It's-
realize.
Yeah, it's a hill.
Yeah, I thought it was just that, what you see, you know?
Way in the back. It goes all the way back to Harrington's Boatyard, I think.
On the other side where the other highway is, basically.
The bypass.
Yeah. Crazy.
Is it a real name sign there? Okay, so we have a time waiver. We're going to continue to October 9th.
Yep.
And motion in a second, so Amanda,
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Doc?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Corinne?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
This one should, we gonna do the whole spiel again on this? Is that, I like listening to him. Bracken, I like when he shows up.
When he first came into town, came before us, he was the only engineer that would come in and done.
Next on the agenda, application for site plan review, number 509A,
That's a nice.
0 Ernest Valeri Road. Application is for the development of a large-scale, 5-megawatt, ground-mounted photovoltaic system with inverter and battery energy storage system, known as BESS, in the solar photovoltaic overlay district and scenic development district. Dan?
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
So yeah, my name is Daniel Serber. I'm the Director of Development with NextGrid. Joining me on Zoom is Brian Urgation with BSC Group. I'm here tonight to present an 11.32 megawatt DC ground-mounted solar system in the town of Bourne Solar Photovoltaic Overlay District. I recognize some of you. We've been at this project for 5, maybe 6 years now. And so there was a lot of work that had to be done with the Cape Cod Commission, but I'll reintroduce you guys. The project's located on Ernest Valeri Road, pretty close to the Public Works Department. The project itself is located in the Scenic Development Overlay District, which seeks to avoid congestion while fostering intensive use of land and to preserve highway views. Additionally, it's located in the Bourndale Overlay District, and a letter from Jennifer Copeland to the Cape Cod Commission dated December 4th, 2024 confirms the project is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. The project itself is 32 acres. That's the total disturbance. It consists of fixed tilt solar panels that will just sit under 6 feet in height. The site will have no moving parts. The project has an associated lithium-ion battery storage system. The system has been reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission and has no hazardous materials as defined by Mass DEP in Section 310 CMR 30. The entire system is also PFAS-free, and our transformer will utilize FR3 natural coolant under the panels. We worked with the Cape Cod Commission to condition a pollinator mix that will be looked after in the manner of Amherst's solar pollinator program. The project is currently 1,200 feet from the nearest residential abutter, although a housing development is being potentially developed just north. There will be a minimum of 50 feet of wooded buffer to the north property line. Most areas will be much more than that. The solar panels are actually facing away from that residential development, so there's no potential for glare. The site has equipment pads, will be over 2,000 feet from Bourndale Elementary, so won't be seen or heard from by the school at all. There's over 12 acres of permanent conservation land that we are putting down here that's between the system and the school, so it won't be seen even in the winter. The project was approved by the Cape Cod Commission on June 26th, 2025. As part of that approval, NextGrid will be donating 64.3 acres of land for permanent conservation. That's including this 11 acres on site. There's a cranberry bog up here that we believe has a vernal pool attached, although that hasn't been confirmed yet. That parcel will be donated along with 3 others that are off Bourndale Road, again, totaling 64.3 acres. So this site is in the solar overlay district. It complies with the underlying zoning district. Like the zoning district asked for, it's a more intensive use of land, but you cannot see this from the highway, and it will not add to traffic. So we all like that. It will not add to any strain on town services. It'll ultimately preserve 64 acres of forest, and it's expected to earn the town $9,161,000 over the life of the project in pilot revenue. So we think this project is a win-win. I know a lot of you already know the project, so I'll just open it up for questions, and I'll move on from there.
Mr. Chairman, or actually, may I ask the town planner, is this the same group that built the solar panel right down the street on Scenic Highway?
Yeah, so this is part of the Cape Cod Aggregate site, the former Cape Cod Aggregate
Right.
site. There's 90 acres total. This parcel is 30 acres, and in between that is an old subdivision
Right.
for Deer Path Development, and then to the north of that is 665 Scenic Highway. So that's the solar farm that is that's shut down right now, and they're working through the issues to rectify the problems with the building code and fire code. And also, that one has to come back for a special permit for alternative surfacing
Right.
for bituminous, and this one will as well,
Right.
yeah.
I'm not ready to do any approvals on this project because they haven't fixed everything that they said they were going to on the other project. And as this board knows, everybody here knows, trying to get something done after the fact is near impossible. They have not been good to work with. They promised us, we went up there and had a site visit, a bunch of us went up there and walked it. Everything that they had promised before never got done. They did a couple of things here and there, Band-Aids. I'm not ready. I don't think this board should go with the same company and grant them another project when they haven't even fixed everything they said they were going to on the first project. So I would not be, I don't want to say no on the project, but I think this should be continued until we get some answers on what's going on with the other project before we approve this. I wouldn't even want to approve this with conditions, because what do we see with Williston Road? A no clear-cut zone, and we've been fighting with those people for years. And I just don't see it, so. I don't think it's a wise choice for us to approve another project by the same company when they haven't complied with what they said they were gonna do before.
And maybe, Daniel, you want to speak to that on what's been fixed
Sure,
at the
I
other
can
site?
speak to that. I can tell you that we will no longer work with the construction company we hired to do that project, and we have been working hard with them to try to fix their issues, and we are very frustrated as well.
And
And
that
then-
doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't,
We need-
it doesn't solve the
we need-
problem,
We
but
need to see some sort of effort by you folks, whether you hire a different company or whatever, but fix the problems that you said you were gonna fix before. You agreed to it when we first approved that whole project, and then afterwards, like, well, now we don't think we really need to do that. Well, that isn't what you agreed to, so.
yeah,
Did-
and we are working to fix those problems. We have people and calls there weekly, and we are trying to rectify that with both the battery storage company, which we also
Right.
won't be on this project as well.
Jim, through the chair to the planning department, when did we do that site visit? Was that about 6, 7 months ago?
Was last summer.
Last summer? And nothing's been,
Well, the structural engineer has submitted plans for the retaining wall. I mean, you can go through all the things that have been completed, I guess. The sign's
Yeah.
been put up.
I mean, I'm sure this is gonna get continued, obviously, and I'll come back with our construction staff so they can, or the construction staff that's doing the EPC work, and they can speak to that. But yeah, so we did get an engineered plan for the retaining wall, which we didn't know we would need on our first visit. I think you're referring to the, I think we permitted as an asphalt road, and then seemed unnecessary, so we were going to switch that to a gravel road. That's
But you didn't come to us to ask for permission to do the gravel road. You just kind of suggested that we're just gonna do a gravel road, whereas you agreed to do an asphalt road. Those are the type of issues
Yeah.
that this board can't allow to happen.
Understood.
Because we did it with one project, and you're doing another project within a stone's throw of that, and we're gonna have the same issues.
Okay.
Is the other site still allowing some company to park a bunch of trucks up on the property also? Because I
So-
don't think that property is permitted for a parking area for.
We're not permitting any company to park trucks there. When we started construction, there was a tree company out of Providence that was parking trucks there.
They're not there anymore?
They shouldn't be. They don't have our gate code, so if they are,
Right.
they're trespassing.
I haven't been up there in a while.
Doc?
Yeah, just carry Chris's comments for, I think the planning department has identified several missing items or deficiencies that have to be addressed. I think we came in here assuming there would be a continuance just on technical issues. But I have a couple of questions
Yeah.
on that technical side that it'd be good to start thinking about. Grading. In the 2022 plan, the grading, I think the southeast side of the project is pretty sensitive. Certainly the housing over here, but what I've seen here is a concern. I just want to hear what your thoughts are. In the 2022 iteration, that side of the project, the floor elevation, so to speak, where the collectors are, was from 114 to 118 or so. And in this iteration, it's come up quite a bit. It's 130, I think it's 134. So, and the access road is in fill here. So it looks like, hard to tell, it looks like it's in 3 to 4, maybe more feet of fill above the existing grade at that side. The existing grade is something like 125, but 128, it's hard to tell. So the road is going to be above the grade. So that road now is more visually sensitive. I think the property owner historically, 10 or 15 years ago, put a dense line of pine trees, some thick Austrian pines about this far apart along the whole road. Maybe they anticipated digging there and they wanted some buffer in place. Those are key. So I'm a little, if you can tell me on the grading plan, you've got the curbstones identified, which I presume marks the right-of-way. That's the end of the town's property. So I'd be really interested in the relationship of those line of dense pine trees to the property line. Will they remain when all the grading is done?
Sure.
Because the project has been lifted up, the access road is lifted up above your finished grade, and we're down at something like 123, 125, looking up at it. So I just want to make sure those pine trees remain in place. I think they're aggregates pine trees, and that's a question of how close will the grading come to those pine trees. We need some reassurance there. The second item is, because it's been raised up, now I'm really sensitive to the lighting. Tell us about any lighting. Purely security, what type of lighting?
So
Do
we
you
have no, I can answer the second part first, and I'll hand the first question to Brian Irrigation, but there's no lighting plan on the site. We don't typically have any lighting on our sites.
All right.
The only time we do is if the fire department might want a light above their Knox box, but they haven't requested in this case, so no lighting whatsoever.
And before your engineer starts, just one more sort of part of it. On that side, near the retention basin up to the high point, you're proposing a gravel road, I take it.
Yep.
And, it's hard to read, but it looks to me like it exceeds 9.5% going up there. So on our site walk last summer, the access road on 665 seemed to be pretty badly eroded, as I remember it, on one side. So you've got a gravel road at 9.5%, and I'd just like to hear some talk about it.
Okay. Brian, are you prepared to respond to?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Brian Nugation, professional engineer with BSC Group. Yeah, so I guess let me start with between 2022 plan, which you would refer to, and the current plan, there was a lot of grading rework that was done, and that was done primarily to balance the site so that we didn't have, and to be honest, I don't recall if it was a net import or a net export, but the bottom line is the site wasn't balanced, and so that was the effort that we went through. There's a swale on both sides of on the inside of this road as well, so that's going to facilitate drainage tremendously. But the biggest reason we don't feel like there's going to be any kind of an issue on that road, on that drive, is because no one's going to be traversing that. Once the site is constructed, that's there for essentially emergency purposes only. But everything is pitched in towards the center of the road, and there is a shallow swale to facilitate drainage, so we don't anticipate any kinds of issues with erosion on that road.
Would you describe the swale?
Sure, it's a shallow swale.
Is it armored? I mean, is it crushed stone? Tell me more.
No, it's a vegetative swale. It's a shallow swale, and it's only about a foot or so deep, and it's just to convey stormwater runoff from the gravel road to the infiltration facilities that we have around the site. The other thing I wanted to touch on, you referenced that row of pine trees that as you're on Ernest Valeri Road looking at the site, I recall seeing those. I'll have to check with our actual survey points to see where those trees fall relative to the proposed grading.
That's super important. That's super important. It'd be nice to identify them on a plan, maybe on the grading plan, showing them their presence on the grading plan.
Brian, I believe we're leaving a wooded buffer in place all along Ernest Valeri, which I assume that's where they'd be, right?
I'm assuming, Daniel, yes, we have a pretty significant wooded, wooded buffer that we're leaving intact in place there. But not being 100.0% sure, I didn't want to say that.
I'd just like it identified, like the depth of the buffer to remain at the limit of grading.
Yes.
Just for our information.
Yeah, beautiful.
Understood. Will do.
That's all I have.
I recall a discussion at the existing site about maybe using a dense grade or reprocessed instead of gravel for maybe a little more hold during some of the rain events.
The gravel access road?
Yeah.
The perimeter road?
And both, yeah. Is that something you've thought of? We did see quite a bit of washout. Obviously, we have shorter duration, heavier impact rain events that I don't know if your engineering would make it worthwhile to look at a different product than what you've used at that site now.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Because it was all just gravel up there, and it didn't just wash away the gravel roads. I mean, it was completely underneath the solar panels and everything else up there. I mean, it was major, because that retaining wall was never put in place. So that all sandy gravel just washed away. It was pretty significant washout.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back with an alternative road surfacing plan.
Considering all the other civil projects in the area, just as an estimate, when would construction begin in your foreseeable forecast?
Probably early next year. I'd say February, March. We have work to do with all the land deals that are in place for the permanent conservation, and then, completing financing and everything like that. So I don't see it happening this year. We are in contact with Chris Lynch, who's doing the highway expansion and stuff, so we know about the situation going on over there.
Expansion and.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Jim?
Just, in the foreseeable future, prior to starting the next project, do you anticipate cleaning up all the other issues prior to starting?
Well, absolutely, we do.
Well, we're not
Yeah.
gonna grant them a permit if they don't have them squared away.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a,
That would be my vote. We don't give them we don't approve this project unless that other stuff is taken care of, because otherwise, we don't have any enforcement. We're done.
I'm gonna ask the construction guys to come back here. I'm not necessarily in the construction department, so I don't see the day-to-day. But from their update calls, they're telling me they're in close contact with the building commissioner. They're close. They're expecting final completion seemingly weekly. So I don't want to.
Hopefully, that's well underway before our next meeting with you for this project.
maybe the board has to do another walkthrough.
Yeah,
'Cause
let
I'm
me.
sure we have a punch list that we created when we were out there last year.
Yeah, we have a whole list.
Final walkthrough, yeah, absolutely.
And I know myself and a couple other people took a lot of pictures too, so it'll be interesting to see what was fixed.
Yeah. And I do understand you have a contractor, you're trying to pressure to complete things that are part of their contract before you bring in a new contractor, but that's becoming our problem. And
Yes.
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to just start fresh and get those things
Yeah.
accomplished with your new guy.
I made a career out of always telling the truth, and then stuff like this happens. It doesn't feel good for me either.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I add something?
Yes, Jim?
Okay. So 665 Scenic Highway needs a separate special permit application for the alternative surfacing. So when do you anticipate applying for that?
I will have to check in. So Nate Collins, do you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He told me that he had already applied for one. I'm gonna have to check in.
I have
with
not
him.
received one.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you also have to apply for one for this project as
Yeah,
well.
I saw that in your
Yeah, so we
notes.
were
and
just
so we're
gonna
gonna
do
update
another-
the.
Yeah.
Buried in permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Dan?
sounds like we may continue this. Do we need to have a time waiver signed for this one?
Yes,
Okay.
we would. Yeah. We would need a time waiver signed for
Have
this
it.
to
Okay.
continue it and
Sure.
make sure we're still complying.
absolutely.
So,
You're getting your
when's the next
exercise in.
hearing? I don't think we'll be ready for the next one, but I was wondering if maybe just, by way of an update, if I can get someone in here on the next hearing, just to update the board on the progress at 665.
28th is our next meeting,
2 weeks.
and then after that would be September 11th.
That's
Yeah,
fall.
that is.
I'm just saying,
Okay, so
September
there's
11th.
no time on the 28th, just for an update, and then, so we can just continue, okay?
Then September 11th.
We could do the 11th for an update for sure, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, the August one is.
that's a good one.
Yeah, no problem at all.
so Sean, what date are we looking at to continue this to?
September 11th.
11th to 22nd.
Not just an update, but also to continue
Oh,
this
to
hearing?
continue it to? I don't even know, probably.
11th of the 20, would you be ready the 11th or the 25th of September?
What day of the week is, the 25th, Thursday, obviously?
Yep,
The
the
20
11th or the 25th.
The 25th, I'll come back, but if we could schedule an update from the construction on 665.
That's what they're gonna do on the 11th. But this hearing,
The 25th is good.
25th.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we continue this to, this hearing to September 25th.
Second that.
Okay.
Any questions or comments?
The only thing, if, Jen, if you could send electronically the decision from the Cape Cod Commission on
Yeah, I
this,
thought that went out.
Also, I'm very curious about the open space and what parcels they are, because I've worked on the open space quite a bit. I'm just curious, because I didn't know we had that much open space to purchase, so.
Yeah, the three other parcels are owned by the Ingersoll family.
Oh, okay.
And so, in that decision, you'll see the
Yeah.
open space plans.
Okay.
Nice.
Any other questions? Take a vote. Amanda?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Doc? Dan? Corinne?
Yes.
Chair
Motion to
votes
adjourn.
yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank
Vote
you.
with your feet.
Vote with your feet.
Thank you.
Adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John on the tweet.